Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on Weather Out West. This is Thursday, September 4th, and I'm meteorologist Adam Claybon. And Weather Out West, well, what is it? It's the hour-long show where we showcase the latest on what's expected to happen weather-wise across the western part of the United States. You'll find forecasts from our meteorologists in Colorado, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, California, and Arizona. We start today in Phoenix. Ginger Jeffries has a look at where we have some monsoonal moisture across the area, and that has helped to keep temperatures down, but is also reducing the risk of flooding across this region.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your very active weather out west across Arizona where, the monsoon is in full effect. Understand, these are storms that are being fueled by tropical energy, all of the remnants from what was Hurricane Lorena now tracking up into the Four Corners, and we are seeing it and we are feeling it. Already picked up another dust storm yesterday. We are on track to get up to a ½ inch of rain when all is said and done. And as you can see across the state, we got plenty of cloud cover. And temperatures, wow, they have come way down. Look at this. Phoenix, you started the work week at 108 degrees. We are now looking for highs at 97, all courtesy from these storms that are coming up from Tucson, only hitting 85 in Tucson. I've got 78 today in Show Low, 73 in Flagstaff, and about 84 in Sedona. So this is pretty interesting. First of all, we do have a weather impact alert day today simply because of the amount of moisture that's coming our direction. National Weather Service already issuing several advisories, including a flood watch for us later today. Now we've got some early morning showers. That's going to clear out as the sun comes up. Then we'll get some clearing. But look at this. As we march up to 97 degrees, you see this massive temperature drop from 4 to 6. That's the timing of the moisture that is coming our direction. And that means we're talking about thunderstorms. We're talking about flood potential, possible dust storms, strong winds. As a result, we've got a 6 on the board today. So active weather expected overhead to western Arizona. And remember, these storms are tracking up from Tucson. So certainly flooding, blowing dust, severe storms at time, and it'll be after about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So what exactly does a 6 mean on the monsoon meter? We are looking for widespread severe storms with winds that could get over 60 miles an hour. That means hail, dust storm potential, and of course flash flooding because of the amount of moisture that's going to be coming in a very small amount of time. So here we go. You see the flood potential for today, all in green. We have this flash flood watch that will be in place later today. The timing is all over the place. It's been 11 a.m. It's been 9 a.m. Now we're looking right after the noon hour. But again, that prime time after 3 o'clock, especially between 4 and 6, that's really when we're going to see that moisture surge coming in. So rainfall totals, we're looking for over an inch just south of the metro. And again, overhead up to maybe even a ½ inch of rain for Phoenix when all this moisture pushes on through. So in the morning, we're still getting some spotty showers, but then after the sun comes up, after 8 o'clock, it looks to be clearing out until, we're looking for more storms. Here we are, 12:30, 1 o'clock. We're starting to see the peppering of the sky, and then here it comes up from the south. So coming up from Tucson into the Phoenix area, and then we're looking for those dynamic storms after about 3 o'clock, closing in on 4 to 7, clearing out, but giving us another round on Friday. And again, this is all tropically fueled. So all the remnants from that hurricane is just allowing the moisture to come into our neck of the woods. The primary focus, I'd say, for Friday into Saturday will be on the east side because of the track of these systems. Unless the winds really shift things and we start to see more of a westerly push, I'm calling for most of this energy to really stay on the east side. So today, more storms after 3 o'clock with daytime highs at about 97 degrees across the board. We're looking for temperatures to come down courtesy of the storm action. Take a look at this. Flagstaff, you're dropping into the 60s tomorrow with widespread coverage through Saturday. For the valley, yes, weather impact alert day today, all because of the strong storm potential developing later today, which could lead to flooding and, of course, more dust storms for the region.
All right, pretty interesting. And if you do remember, you saw her mentioning blowing dust. And maybe a few weeks or not too long ago there around Arizona, we did have that big haboob that happened. So we'll see if anything like that happens again, but definitely going to be keeping an eye out for some of those heavier downpours and some flooding that could come about because of that. All right, our next stop is going to be in Denver, and we have meteorologist Kathy Sabin and Keely Chalmers, which are going to give you the forecast as things look to be pretty hot today, but there is a cool down here as we go later into the week.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Kathy Sabin. We are in the middle of the first full week of September. Beautiful sunrise and sunset shots, just a little bit of cloud cover, just enough color to make it so very beautiful around here. All compliments of the current weather pattern, which includes high pressure settled over the Great Basin, pushing the storm track to the north and separating the warm air over Colorado from a batch of cool air in the Midwest, and then a trough of low pressure off the coast of California. These things will eventually change our weather pattern as the ridge breaks down at the end of the week. Today, the moisture is pretty limited. This plume of leftover tropical moisture is streaming north and west away from Colorado, but will eventually arc back into our state. We have a sharp cold front coming in later tonight into tomorrow. That's going to drop temperatures out of the 80s and 90s into the 60s and 70s and will offer a chance for some showers over the weekend. Today, the showers that will impact travel will extend from north of Dallas through St. Louis, Atlanta into New York. And here comes the tropical moisture from the south, arcing north into Colorado and potentially bringing a chance of much needed rain to the state. We have a little push of moisture coming in today from the southwest. Denver, the Front Range and Eastern Plains stay dry, but there will be isolated storms around Aspen, Telluride, Alamosa, and maybe as far north as Steamboat Springs and Fort Collins late in the day. Bus stop temperatures today for our state will be in the mid 60s with lots of sunshine. Will warm to the upper 80s today. This will mark the warmest day of the week at 89. Sharp cold front takes us to 72 tomorrow. Isolated storms over the weekend. Our first football season game is at 2:05 on Sunday with the Broncos. Slight chance of a storm and then a mild dry weather pattern from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We're back in the low to mid 80s.
It is going to be Scottish-like weather tomorrow as those temperatures drop, highs climbing only to 72 degrees. We've got a beautiful start to your Friday Eve, to your Thursday. Just a little bit of a haze due to wildfire smoke. We'll talk about that in just a second. We're at 71 degrees outside the 9 News studios. Winds out of the southeast, 3 miles per hour. Those winds will be picking up this afternoon behind a cold front that's going to be dropping those temperatures. Current temperatures, again, 60s and 70s across the plains. We're in the 50s up in the high country. We're at 71 degrees in Grand Junction right now. Forecast highs, boy, they're going to get up there. We're talking about upper 80s, some 90s thrown in there across the plains. We're looking at 96, La Junta, Lamar, as well as Springfield, Pueblo, 95. And again, otherwise, very warm upper 80s, 70s, possibly a couple 80s up in the high country, and 90 degrees, your forecast high for Grand Junction. Live radar, quiet this morning. We are going to stay quiet and really uneventful through about noon. The only thing that's going to happen at noon is we're going to get a little bit of moisture in the form of clouds moving in. This moisture, subtropical, moving into Colorado. That is going to stir up some showers and storms across the high country first. A couple of those, 1 or 2, sliding down across the I-25 corridor this evening. And then again, possibly overnight, we could hear a couple rumbles of thunder, possibly some downpours as those storms move through. Stronger storms staying, as you can see, well to the south, down across the southern plains. Tomorrow morning, waking up to some showers and thunderstorms south of the Palmer Divide as well. For the metro area, lots of sunshine today. That's going to help warm temperatures up to about 89 degrees. A little bit windy this evening as that front moves through. It's going to stir those winds up, gusting up to 20, even possibly even 30 miles per hour. So here's a look at our wind gust forecast as we head into tonight, 10 o'clock. And again, those winds really picking up, even in the metro area. We're talking about 20 to 30 mile per hour winds out across the plains. 30+ mile per hour winds this afternoon. That does increase the risk for wildfires because it's so dry out, and those temperatures are going to warm up I do want to point out the smoke forecast. We're getting some smoke moving in, certainly going to be thick across Wyoming and western Nebraska, but some of that moving in over northern Colorado. The smoke from wildfires burning to the north and west, specifically Canadian wildfires. It is going to filter down into the plains today, into tomorrow as well. So just something to think about if you see a haze out there or if you're sensitive to wildfire smoke. Tomorrow, much cooler with highs topping out in the low 70s. We're talking about temperatures in the upper 60s, low 70s across the plains for tomorrow. So a big difference from today, but it's going to be the coolest day out of the week. We'll be warming up from there, back in the upper 70s on Saturday, low 80s on Sunday. Sunday, though, we have a decent chance, about a 30% chance we'll see some afternoon showers and storms. Could impact well, if you're heading to the Broncos game, you might want to take a rain jacket just in case. Back in the mid 80s by Wednesday.
All right, yeah, up near 90 degrees there around Denver. And yeah, NFL, it is back. That starts tonight, by the way, too, if you're a football fan. All right, so we're going to move on from the Rockies and head to the state of Washington, where not only are we going to be dealing with some heat in some areas, but we're also talking about fog and wildfire smoke and the potential for maybe new wildfires to be created. So make sure to stick with us. We'll have more for that coming up. All right, welcome back, everyone. So now we're going to head into Washington State, where there are quite a few things going on. Still feeling like summer here across the state, as we're expecting temperatures to be across eastern Washington up maybe near the 100-degree mark. And that includes areas at least near and maybe even for Spokane itself. And on top of that, we're dealing with wildfire smoke haze, and with some of that wildfire smoke, maybe that air quality being lowered just a bit. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick has more on that.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. The weather has been intense to start this week. Record-breaking temperatures, all-time September records also being broken. And while the heat is still at play, the air quality is now becoming a bigger concern and impact for eastern Washington and North Idaho. Look at how hazy the scene is up at Silver Mountain in North Idaho. Can't quite see as many mountain ranges off into the distance. That is our main two weather headlines. The crazy September heat seems like it continues all week long, with now air quality concerns becoming a bigger factor into this forecast. Now, heat advisories go for one more day in Spokane, though the worst of the heat is in the rearview mirror. So the range is now generally 92 to 100 degrees, with 100 a bit more likely for central Washington. But even that is about 4 or 5 degrees lower compared to yesterday, but still outright hot. That is for sure. That's why I still keep our weather impact alert days, even though we're not quite to record levels this time around. But this is how we've started the month in Spokane. 99, 99, 98 degrees, all daily record highs in their own rights, but 99 is now also the new all-time September record high, with records going back to 1881. So we keep our weather impact alert day today, usually use that for 95 and above, and we'll be a bit closer to that mark today as opposed to 99 or 100 degrees. 94 my forecast in Spokane for this afternoon, only spot at 100 in the Omak area, where the skies might be a little bit more pure blue today as opposed to that hazy and smoky sky conditions. The record high today, by the way, is 96 degrees, and while that's a little bit lower, our forecast is also, again, that shade lower, so close, but probably not quite to a fourth straight record high today. Now, as we look at the weather setup, there's this pretty big stationary boundary that's laid out across the Rocky Mountains in British Columbia through Montana. Yes, it is cooler on the north side of this, but it is stuck in place, and it's keeping the wildfire smoke also stuck in place. And since the fires are now burning mainly across northeastern Washington, that smoke is directly impacting the air quality in this region. Air quality alerts now expanded through the entirety of eastern and central Washington. A lot of these fires that I've manually plotted here directly impacting the air quality, especially for Stevens and Ferry County, definitely getting the worst of it. Northeastern Washington also remains under a red flag warning. While not exactly windy conditions, the hot and unstable weather is still the perfect fuel and energy for those fires to keep burning aggressively. And we note this in the afternoon. They start just piling up those smoke plumes very aggressively. And that's what's contributing to all the smoky sky conditions. This is Thursday morning's view across eastern Washington. This is just all smoke. And it's close to the ground too, which is why the air quality is dropping across the inland northwest. This was the view just after sunrise. Again, that orange, hazy sun in the eastern sky. Good indication that the air quality has dropped as well. For Spokane, it's unhealthy for sensitive groups. In Colville and Stevens County, AQI of 187 puts it at outright unhealthy. And yes, northeastern Washington will continue to get the worst of it due to all of these wildfires. About a half a dozen, I believe 7, the latest active count, the largest being the Crown Creek fire and the Rattlesnake fire. To the 7-day forecast in Spokane, still pretty hot at 94 today, but staying in the 90s through Saturday, and likely the smoke is in that hot environment as well.
Going to be a hot one over on that side of the state. Now, west of the Cascades, kind of a similar story. We're still seeing more of that wildfire haze, but we're also dealing with some fog here as we go throughout the morning. Not going to be quite as hot, though, in areas closer to the water, but into more of the foothill communities, we are dealing with the heat. Meteorologist Ashley Ruiz has the details.
Happy Thursday to you. I'm King 5 meteorologist Ashley Ruiz in Seattle, Washington. With a very warm and hazy forecast, we have numerous wildfires in Washington, and we have a lot of haze just at the surface, and we also have some very thick wildfire smoke aloft up in the sky as well. Temperatures today in the 70s, maybe a couple of 80s, and unfortunately the critical fire danger in the Cascades that continues and possibly into the weekend, even with some cooler conditions and shower chances, because there may be a couple of thunderstorms up in the Cascades as well. We have numerous alerts in place in the state, and this side of the Cascades we have a heat advisory for the Cascade foothills and valleys through this evening, and then a red flag warning. That's that hot pink color through 9 o'clock this evening as well. And that's for the Cascades above 1,500 feet. The eastern side of the state pretty active with, again, numerous wildfires. I wanted to show you this time lapse from yesterday on Wednesday. This is from Mount Rainier National Park, the Wildcat fire off in the distance. You see what almost looks like a thunderstorm. We have convection. It's all because of that heat from the wildfire. And what happens is we get that hot air rising like convection, and then we have what looks like a thunderstorm cloud developing, and people thought maybe is that a thunderstorm off in the distance, but it actually produced some lightning strikes, at least 3 detected, and this wildfire was sparked because of lightning. And so it produced more lightning. Unfortunately, that could happen once again. And so with that being said, that critical fire weather will likely continue today and tomorrow as well. And again, that's something we have to watch for very carefully. Additionally, we have to watch for our air quality. Now, we really have the Bear Gulch fire this side of the Cascades that's prompting some lower air quality, but we still have that ridge of high pressure in place, causing all that air to sink, and it almost gets trapped at the surface. And so we're going to have hazy conditions for the next couple of days, and even over the weekend we'll have changes. We're going to have the system just rotating disturbances over the region, bringing us the chance for showers and maybe a couple of thunderstorms. A look at the GOES imagery over the last couple of hours this morning, and you can see all of that milky color, that tan color, wildfire smoke covering the entire state, and you can really see it picked up from Queen Anne camera looking toward downtown. Not just that, but we have high clouds in the sky. We have that thick wildfire smoke aloft, maybe some at the surface as well. And so it's going to be hard for us to warm up today, which is a good thing. But again, with the wildfire smoke, we're going to likely have some drops in air quality. if we can get through some of this haze, the sun peeking through the haze, then temperatures will have no problem warming up into the lower 80s. But earlier in the week, we were really thinking highs would warm into the mid 80s for some spots. That did not happen because we had low clouds at the surface that really struggled to burn off. And then aloft, we had that thick wildfire smoke. So for today, air quality in that moderate range. However, could have some thicker wildfire smoke moving in from Canada. You see these red colors? That's at the surface. And so that could get close to the I-5 corridor in the Puget Sound region. And that would be the case more so into Friday, more than likely closer to the Canada border. And if you're camping this weekend, this is really going to be something to watch. Highs tomorrow in the 70s, possibly near 80. And there is a better chance for maybe a little thunderstorm Friday, but watch what happens into Saturday. We may wake up to a cluster of showers, maybe some thunderstorms, and then once we get that daytime heating, but might not be a lot, but we'll have enough instability to maybe get a couple of thunderstorms, even in the lowlands, but more so up in the mountains over the weekend. Some beneficial rain could be headed to our area over the span of the next 7 days, but the greatest chance for some wet weather will return to the forecast early next week with highs in the 60s and 70s.
Still on the warm side, but yeah, definitely dealing with some of that smoke and wildfire haze and the air quality issues too. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. All right, next we are going to head down to the sunny state of California and have a little bit of a forecast on a quieter part of the country coming up. Welcome back, everyone. So we're going to head all the way south now to San Diego, where the weather has been, for the most part, pretty perfect. We have been dealing with some fog throughout the mornings, though, and temperatures have still been fairly comfortably warm, at least around the coastal areas. You get a little farther inland, a bit hotter over there. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz has your forecast for San Diego.
Well, happy Thursday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. We have been dealing with some muggy, very sticky conditions here in Southern California for quite some time, but the good news is we have relief not only from those muggy conditions, but also from the heat. As we take a look at the headlines, wrapping up or close to wrapping up the work week, we will have a muggy and warm end of the week, and then we're looking forward to a drier weekend with noticeable cooling next week. In fact, as I give you a little teaser of the cooling that we're expecting, so here's a side-by-side of Friday's highs versus next Tuesday, and temperatures will be anywhere between 3 to nearly 10 degrees cooler. So for tomorrow afternoon, we're still going to stay on the warmer end. From the coastal areas, we'll top out in the mid to high 70s. A lot of the inland valleys will see much more 80s in the mix tomorrow afternoon. And when we compare next Tuesday, that's when we'll have that noticeable cool down. Temperatures will be anywhere between 3 to 5 degrees cooler for our interior parts of the county. And then for the mountains, for example, some areas are going to be nearly 10 degrees cooler by the time we get to next Tuesday. So we do have a cool down in store. We just got to wait till the the middle of next week to really feel that difference. That ridge of high pressure is going to weaken. This trough of low pressure not really doing for much as of yet, but it will eventually move a little more eastward, and that will contribute to some cooling. We still run the risk of pop-up thunderstorms and some showers when it comes to the county's eastern half for the next couple of days. In fact, this is our forecast radar, and this model is actually showing those pop-up thunderstorms later on this afternoon around the 3-4 o'clock hour. Most of the activity will be confined to the mountains and desert areas, and the chance is anywhere between 20 to 30%, but there is still a chance despite it being fairly minimal. Taking a look at tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to fast forward this and pause it at around the same time, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, and notice how we have a lot less green on the maps here, indicating that the shower chances will be greatly reduced looking ahead to Friday afternoon versus what we're expecting today. And then by Saturday, it looks like a lot of that monsoonal moisture is pretty much out of here. So again, the greatest chances for showers this afternoon down to about 40% tomorrow, and then it plummets anywhere between 0 to 3% by the time we get to the weekend. Overnight lows are going to stay on the much milder end, especially for the coastal areas. We'll drop down to the high 60s from Oceanside all the way down to downtown San Diego. A little cooler, but not by much for interior parts of the county tonight. We'll bottom out in the high 60s for Escondido, mid 60s in Poway, and we'll drop into the 50s for spots like Ramona. Here's a quick look at your Friday's highs. We'll be in the high 70s for the coastal areas. The inland neighborhoods will average highs in the upper 80s, mid to low 80s for the mountain areas with a chance for thunderstorms, and we'll top out close to 100 degrees for the desert areas, which is actually cooler than where we should be for this time of year. Taking a look at the coastal 7-day forecast, minimal daily changes really up until Monday, and then Tuesday is when most of our microclimates will really feel that drop in temperatures. We'll go from the high 70s to the mid to low 70s by the time we get to next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which will actually be a little cooler than our 30-year normal. For the inland valleys, we'll top out in the high 80s tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll see a little bit of a rise come latter part of the weekend on Sunday. Sunday's looking like the warmest day of our 7-day outlook, but again, minimal daily changes until we get to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's when we really start to feel that relief. And not only will the temperatures drop, but also the humidity levels, so it will feel much more comfortable outside. The mountain areas will be in the low 80s all the way through about Sunday, shooting up close to 90 degrees on Monday. So we have a little bit of a jump in temperatures for the start of next week, and the temperatures will come climbing down Tuesday, Wednesday into Thursday. Desert areas close to 100 degrees, low hundreds expected next Monday and Tuesday. Then we're back in the mid 90s by the middle part of next week.
All right, looks like we just got to get through the next few days of some high humidity, and then things should start to be a bit more comfortable there around San Diego. All right, now we're going to head farther north in California, up to Sacramento, where pretty sunny. It's going to be much hotter up across those parts, but also we're dealing with some areas that are having some poor air quality. Meteorologist Monica Woods has the info for you.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods with a look at our regional headlines and what has been very active weather throughout northern and central California. Breaking it down into regions. For the coast, we'll continue to see some morning fog cooling underway for the valley. For the foothills, we're dealing with hazy skies. And in the Sierra, our thunderstorms are not done yet. In fact, we're going to continue to track the potential of more lightning-sparked fires. Speaking of lightning, over 5,000 strikes happening earlier this week, Tuesday through Wednesday, cloud to ground. You can see the multiple lightning strikes, and with that, unfortunately, we were dealing with lightning-sparked fires, some of which really caused quite a lot of devastation. Looking at our significant fire potential, it's going to start to shift more to the north, almost near the California-Oregon border, as that risk of isolated dry lightning also starts to shift more to the north. But still something to watch throughout the entire Sierra heading into our Thursday. Still a chance of thunderstorms right down the Sierra spine and through Northern California. That will continue into our Friday outlook before we start to see a bit of a pattern shift, which will reduce the risk of those thunderstorms throughout this year and also bring down our temperatures in the valley. Meantime, for the foothills, we talked about the hazy skies. Look at this: Amador, Calaveras, Tuolumne, and Fresno County. Very hazy skies, and this is due to fires. As you can see, big smoke plumes right here blanketing the mother lode, particularly through the foothills where we have some of the most active fires burning right now. The Garnet Fire, well, that's been burning actively for about the past week or so, and unfortunately, that still is a problem fire throughout California. Here's a look at the rundown, and you can see all the little fires right here throughout the state. We've had so far over 6,500 fires burning over 425,000 acres, over 16,000 structures destroyed, 31 fatalities. If you remember, back in early January, we got off to a very early fire year with the devastating fires in Southern California. So all of that goes into the statistics, so we continue to track. Here's a look at the rundown comparatively. It's pretty close to where we were last year at this point, a little bit behind the 5-year average of total acres burned. And deployment has been pretty quick. I will say that. Anytime there's been a fire, there's been multiple resources that have been deployed to those fires to try to get them under control as quickly as possible. It's all about the weather pattern, though. If we had really fierce winds, it's just really difficult to put people on those fire lines. Ours have been lightning sparked, and unfortunately, the pattern continues through our Thursday to see a slight potential of that occurring once again. Now, by Friday into Saturday, we start to see a bit of a shift. more clouds in the valley, more onshore flow, lots of fog along the coast. And again, we'll get a touch of that cool Bay air coming in for the weekend, but we got Thursday and Friday to get through for those thunderstorms in the Sierra. Highs will be close to 80 for the high country. We're in the 80s and 90s down low with a high right around 80 to 85 degrees towards Yosemite. Inland areas still right around 100 the farther away we get from some of that marine cooled air. 60s and 70s along the central coast. Inland areas again makes it a little bit tough to get over some of those ranges, especially with the elevation change. If we have an open access like the Delta region, in the northern part of the bay, we can see how that onshore flow really starts to cool our inland temperatures into the 80s. Along the northwest coast, we're going to have 60s as we head inland a little bit farther to the east. We're still close to 100. And again, we will see a little touch of that cooler air moving through the capital region with highs closer to about 90 to 95 degrees. That risk of thunderstorms continues into our Friday, reappearing next week, but we get a break over the weekend with some cooler weather on tap as well. As you can see, our highs in the valley cooling into the 80s, and that's largely where we stay into next week.
All right, some heat still around and still feeling like summer there in Central California, or Northern California. Sorry about that. All right, so next we are going to head back to the northwest. We're going to hit a couple of spots this time, though. We're going to head into Boise, and we're going to take a look at Portland's forecast and talk about some heat that's still around and more of this wildfire smoke, too. So stick with us. All right, welcome back, everyone. So a common theme we've been seeing here has been across the Northwest, more of that wildfire smoke haze. And we've been dealing with it. We've been dealing with more of the air quality issues to go along with that. And Boise is no exception. Still going to be a hot day there as well. We have Hector Mendoza with the forecast for you in Boise.
Hello, my name is Hector Mendoza here forecasting out of Boise, Idaho, and it was a warm one yesterday as we weren't as warm as we saw there on Monday and Tuesday where we hit that century mark and hit 101 there on Monday, but we did get into the mid-90s here for many spots in the Treasure Valley, that is, and then Mountain Home hit 99 degrees, just a degree shy of triple digits. We saw those warm temperatures into the upper 80s, low 90s for the Magic Valley, and then pretty similar temperatures out into the mountains. But as we look at the temperatures for today, we are going to see that they stay into those mid-90s, possibly coming down just a little bit more, and then we're going to continue with warm temperatures in the mountains, possibly a little warmer than what we're going to expect to see here this afternoon for the Magic Valley. But we are going to see a slow and steady cool down that comes along as we get closer into the weekend, and then as we head on into next week, more fall-like conditions is what we're expecting. So cooler temperatures, unsettled weather, we have all that coming and going here for the next couple of days heading into the weekend and through next week. Now, as we look at the big picture setup, we see that this ridge of high pressure continues here, but it's going to slowly start to weaken as we have a shortwave system that comes in, brings us a chance of showers, already seeing a band of precipitation through southeastern Oregon, and then we're going to continue to see that through the mountains into the Owyhees and closer to the Idaho-Nevada border, at least for this afternoon and for Friday. But it's going to start to kick off more widespread showers. It's going to be this system here that's going to make a slow trek inland, and then that leading edge is what's going to bring us the initial cool down there for Saturday and Sunday, and then as it gets closer and makes its landfall, that is when we're expecting to see even cooler temperatures. But it takes until the middle of next week for us to start to notice some of that and feel the effects of that system a lot more. But as we look at this future cast and look onto this afternoon, we'll start to notice that some of those showers and possible thunderstorms start to bubble up closer to the Idaho-Nevada border. Could see some areas here in the Central Mountains see some spot showers here and there through the rest of this afternoon. But for the most part, the Treasure and Magic Valley stay dry. Some hazy conditions to the next couple of days, but again, we're just anticipating some spots further south or further up north from Boise to expect some of those showers through this afternoon. But let's take a look here at our upper level pattern as we fast forward through the rest of the day today, look on into Friday and Saturday, and then as that system continues to weaken, we'll see this low pressure system bring its way on through, and here is where we're going to notice that leading edge. It's going to bring us some of those cooler temperatures, and as that system continues its way on through, we're going to expect to see much cooler temperatures as we are expecting there for the following week. So that trend will start to bring temperatures below average as we head on into Monday, Tuesday, and that extends all the way in through Thursday. So as we start to look at the 7-day forecast here, we're going to start with the mountains. Temperatures will drop down to the upper 70s there by Sunday, and then we see those shower chances continue and look to increase as we get there into Wednesday, but temperatures will start to continue to decrease there into the mid 60s. We're also going to notice that some of the morning temperatures that we're going to see stay up into the low 60s, down into those mid to low 50s as we head on into Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're expecting unsettled weather at least into the extended forecast all the way through Wednesday and Thursday. And as we look here in Boise, we continue with some of those hazier conditions today, partly cloudy, hazy conditions again for the morning there for Friday, but we'll see a little bit more sunshine through the afternoon. And then as we head on into Saturday and Sunday, seasonal temperatures return there into the mid 80s. We continue with those clouds there for the weekend that extend all the way through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But that's when we're going to start to notice temperatures get way below average, stay into the upper 70s. There is a chance that we can see even cooler temperatures than that. But for now, we're expecting to stay around 10 degrees below that average, which is normally around the mid 80s. And then we're going to continue to see those shower chances start to increase as we see the main event of that system make its way through on Wednesday, and that's where we're expecting some scattered showers that come along there that might continue into Thursday.
Well, it looks like Boise is going to have a bit of a taste of fall ahead as we get past this upcoming weekend. Things already looking kind of gloomy, at least at times, in Portland. And this morning started off with some cloud coverage, but I think overall today's forecast is looking pretty nice down that way in Oregon. We're going to have meteorologist Rod Hill tell you about that and also about some possible shower chances later into the week.
On a Thursday from Portland, I'm Rod Hill. We've actually had a touch of rain on the east side of our metro this morning in our city nearby Portland called Gresham, and then up into some of the Cascade Foothill communities. What I called during our newscast surprise rain, because I didn't think we were going to get it. It wasn't in my forecast. This band of clouds is slowly going to continue to thin and push to the north and get out of here. And assuming that happens soon enough in the day, Portland will still get up into the mid to upper 80s with a mostly sunny, humid or sticky afternoon. What's interesting is the cloud band you're looking at here, the back edge of it has been right over downtown Portland. Our west metro actually is waking up and getting their day going with plenty of sunshine. Wildfire activity still a big headline down here in our region. And we're looking at the map for Oregon and Washington, some 17 named wildfires showing up, large ones that are burning. And this is kind of an explosion of activity tied to lightning activity of the last couple of weeks. Our biggest fire in Oregon is still the immigrant fires, up to 26,000 acres. Still no containment. This is burning. This is in the same county that Eugene, Oregon sits in, but it's burning in the corner of the county up into the Cascades and timber. And projections are it will simply burn at this point until the rains of November put it out. Now, with all that said, air quality is maybe not as bad as what folks would believe, because there's definitely haze in the sky. We're getting our orange sunsets and sunrises, that type of thing, from wildfire particulates. But the air quality from DEQ is generally still moderate in central and eastern areas of our state, and a mix of green, which is good, and yellow, which is moderate, reported here in the Willamette Valley. Some cameras for you. There's Mount Hood cloud deck up above the mountain, 65 degrees early, so still a warm batch of air. And this is what I was talking about a moment ago. So to the west of downtown Portland is Beaverton and Loa and Hillsboro, the Reserve Vineyards Golf Club, showing the baby blue skies with some haze to start. But then if you look the other direction, here's downtown, and here is right, it's tough to tell, but right over downtown is the back edge of the clouds. So if we're looking off to the east, it's cloudy, and in fact, we've had a touch of some light rain. Here is looking off to the east from our new Vancouver live camera, the springs at the waterfront along the Columbia River. That's I-5, the interstate bridge, and it's out in this area here that we've had a touch of rain. But that should just be an early morning surprise, if you will. Futurecast shows the clouds taking their time to get out of here. This is 10 o'clock this morning, and then eventually they go, and we'll have a partly to mostly sunny afternoon. It's been really foggy along our coast this morning. That also is expected to clear out and get some sun with temperatures in the 60s. Everybody has light winds once again. And also at 6 o'clock later today, it didn't show much, but the potential in central Oregon is some scattered showers, maybe a spotty thunderstorm developing. So we'll keep an eye on that. We're also still watching some hot temperatures in the East Columbia River Gorge, the city of the Dalles, and then east out toward Pendleton for mid to upper 90s today. This shows the Dalles at 96. Hood River gets up to 91. West winds fairly light in the gorge, 5 to 15. Valley forecast numbers. It is a mostly sunny, hazy start in Salem, McMinnville, and Corvallis. Temperatures here, somebody might just get up to 90. We're projecting generally upper 80s. Southwest Washington has the clouds this morning. They will eventually lift and thin and get out. If they do it quickly enough, we'll be well up into the 80s, again with the humid, sticky conditions. The big map, it's 80s and 90s across the state, except for the coast, where temps will be in the 60s. Portland 70, here we go, 89 today, 85 tomorrow, and then, whoa, a big cool-off starting Saturday. A lot of weekend clouds, a Saturday scattered shower chance. Right now, Sunday looks to be dry. Likely rain at times on Monday and Tuesday to start next week.
All right, looks like a cool down is on the way for Portland as well. All right, coming up next, we're going to have our national forecast and talk about some of the quieter weather, some cooler weather too across the eastern U.S. and how eventually we'll start to see that kind of work its way here across the western U.S. as well. And obviously we'll talk about some of those rainy spots down across the desert Southwest again. All right, welcome back everyone. So yeah, we still have a lot of heat across the Pacific Northwest. And so we're going to dive into the national forecast. We're going to talk about that heat, of course, also about the monsoonal moisture and what's happening across the eastern side of the country and where we have some breezy conditions across the northern plains as well with meteorologist Julie Martin.
For your Thursday, we're still dealing with some extreme heat in the northwest for at least another day. Also some storms pushing through the Ohio Valley, those headed east into the mid-Atlantic. And we are looking at some monsoonal moisture coming into the Four Corners region in the desert Southwest. For your forecast highs, pretty comfortable in and around the Great Lakes area. We've got the 70s in play from Indianapolis down to St. Louis and Des Moines. 60, so some very cool air coming in from Canada there in the Twin Cities. Also staying pretty cool in the northeast where we're looking at the 70s there in New England. Buffalo only at 68 and Cleveland only at 65. We've got the 80s in the deep south and the higher 80s once we head into Florida. Also, the heat, as I mentioned, at least another day here for Spokane and Boise in the mid-90s. Sacramento, you'll be in the 90s, as well as Phoenix. And then here in Dallas, Fort Worth, you are going to be certainly in the 100-degree range, as will much of Texas. Those warnings and watches are really confined here to the Pacific Northwest. That's where we still have the heat watches, warnings, and extreme heat here in white for some of those interior valleys, again, where those heat indices could be well over 100 degrees. So take it easy there. Also looking for the possibility for some flooding here in northern and central Florida as storms will continue to fire up. And in the mid-Atlantic, we could also see in and around the DC area, maybe some localized flooding. The severe weather threat is relatively low. It's marginal, a level 1 out of 5 here. For the upper Midwest, places like Minnesota into Nebraska, Iowa, you could see some of those storms. And then certainly from New York State all the way back down the Appalachians into Atlanta, Georgia, we could see maybe some storms fire up as well. So taking a look here at the western region, temperature-wise, not bad in Seattle. Sunny skies in 80. We've got the 80s in San Diego, 91 in Sacramento, 97 in Phoenix with some of that monsoonal moisture there. Triple digits across much of Texas. Denver, you'll be at 89. Also looking for some storminess across the south from Atlanta to Tampa with the 80s. And Charlotte looking good at 86. Minneapolis, a chilly start to the day at 46 for you. Your high only 60 degrees. Buffalo, you'll be on the chilly side as well. DC could see a few storms. Your high 86. Indianapolis, your high looks like 87. Enjoy your Thursday.
All right, we'd like to thank meteorologist Julie Martin for that forecast. Okay, everyone, it's Thursday, which means we have the latest in the drought monitor. So we're going to have more on that when we come back. We're going to show you which spots are still dealing with some pretty extreme drought and where we can possibly be talking about more dry conditions here to come as we head into the coming weeks. Stick with us. All right, here we go. We are getting ready to head into the drought monitor. We did get a new release today, and we actually saw some improvements. If you remember back, we had this heavy rain that moved through parts of the Pacific Northwest about a week or so ago, and that has really helped to bring in some positive changes here across the area when it comes to our drought conditions. So want to head and go and get into that. Let's take a look at the West as a whole, though, and I did want to first start off and show you what's happening across the desert Southwest. You can see that areas down there dealing with severe, extreme, even exceptional drought as you get closer to the Arizona and New Mexico state line, and that goes all the way down towards the Mexican border as well. That's where we are also seeing some areas of heavy rain coming in with this monsoonal moisture, so this is going to be definitely beneficial here as we head on into these next few days. We'll see if this helps to create any sort of damage and starts to eat away at some of this drought that we have across these parts. Also noticing some of that too as you go into parts of Nevada, across the extreme eastern portions of California as well. And then up this way around more of the northwest, you can see Idaho and Montana still dealing with areas of extreme drought, but up this way closer to Washington State and around Portland, actually more specifically around Washington State. In this area across the central and north Cascades, just right of where you see that Seattle designation right there, that Seattle label, we actually did have some extreme drought for the mountainous areas there. That has been allowed to disappear since we had that. So since we've had some of that heavier rain move on through. So it looks like things are doing quite a bit better there, and hopefully we'll get more rain here as we head over the coming weeks, as it looks like overall these hot conditions that we're dealing with right now will continue to subside. All right, that does it for us here on Weather Out West. I'm meteorologist Adam Claiborne. Thank you for joining us today.